Hi everyone, Nervin Reacts here and welcome back to another video. So yeah, just around last week I saw that BlueJay uploaded a third video on wacky war tactics in history, and I decided I'm gonna watch it. Sorry if it took a while, I had other stuff on my schedule, so yeah, I've already reacted to watched the first two videos, unfortunately not on the channel, so yeah, I'm not gonna rewatch them on the channel because I already know what they're about, so yeah. Let's just get to it, shall we?
Hey there, champ. How's it going? Not great. We're in an active war zone, if you couldn't tell. Tell me about it. These Uber delivery fees are basically war crimes, and I would know. Say, do you guys have Qdoba yet? Oh, I don't have time for this. I gotta get out of here before the Australians finish me off. What are you talking about? There's no one over there. What? Then who shot me? Oh, that? That would be a can of piss. What? It's late 1915. World War I is ramping up intensity, and Anzac forces are not feeling the whole great part of the Great War. 80,000 of them are quartered in Gallipoli, the Ottomans ready to finish them officially, and their only hope to survive was to evacuate expeditiously.
Yeah, I don't really know a lot about World War I. I think that's because, you know, most history documentaries and video I watch are, when it comes to the first two when it comes to the World Wars, World War I is often shadowed by World War II because it has a higher death count, and also because it's far more recent than World War I. So yeah, I really need to do some more research on the Great War.
But there was one glaring issue with the retreat. If the Ottomans were to notice, it was predicted they would send up to 30,000 men from the land down under to the land down 6 feet under. So they came up with a nifty plan to pull off this miracle evacuation. What if they retreated by not doing so, or more specifically, convince the Ottomans that they were still having a grand old time playing in their trenches, all whilst actually scurrying to their comfy metal floats. To help pull off this ghost army masquerade was the wondrous drip rifle. Not that kind. Essentially working from home, but without the Clash of Clans in your underwear part, a drip rifle was a gun that was rigged with a delayed firing mechanism consisting of 2 cans and a bit of string. The top can would be filled with water and slowly drip into the bottom one until Isaac Newton took the wheel and pulled the trigger with a nerd magic of gravity. However, given the fact that fresh water was rather scarce for Anzacs in Gallipoli, there's a non-zero chance that some of these cans were given the old golden shower treatment to operate, making it undoubtedly probably some of the finest work ever graced by Australian hands, other than yours truly. Therefore, after the rearguard set up a bunch of these with dummies and smoked a platoon's worth of cigarettes each to make the trenches appear full of men, or trains, they were able to safely evacuate with remote gunfire masking their withdrawal from the Ottomans, who were none the wiser. But anyway,
you know what this also reminds me of? If you've ever seen Simple History's video on obscure military inventions in the World War I, there was this type of there was this device, I forgot what it's called, they used to shoot their guns over the trenches without having to peek your head up. Think of it, it was kind of like a tripod, but instead of for you know, the machine guns and whatnot, it was for the regular rifles, you know. And they would use 2 mirrors to look into the 2 mirrors, basically like this. You'd look into the lower mirror, which would reflect the sight, the iron sight on the top. Then you'd pull a trigger and wire mechanism that would pull the trigger, causing it to you know, to shoot.
hey, that is a Tarantino amount of blood behind you, so one could say you're in for a bad time. Today we're learning about wacky war tactics, yet again.
Come on. The damn ads plus the loading time. Now I hate powdered juice. Come on. Come on. At least give me facial products.
I watch you while you sleep. Or at least I could be with the new limited edition Blue Jay figure. I just couldn't get my fix of breaking and entering last time, so I barged back into the U2's lab to cook up this dashing little scally.
That's actually really cute. I love it. I wouldn't buy it personally. I don't even think they could ship it here to the Philippines. Even if they did, I probably wouldn't buy it. It's still both are still really cute though. So yeah, go if you want to go buy it, go do it. Support Blue Jay.
Wag. Complete with a tricorn hat, bandana, and cannon, this vinyl figure is perfect for all your whimsical pirate needs, and definitely does not contain a radio transmitter. It took a few prototypes to get right, finding the right orphan meat is hard after all, but nevertheless, we were able to come up with a stunning swashbuckling Blue Jay to honor the channel's pirate phase earlier this year. U2's gave me complete creative input over not only the design of the figure, but the box design itself, meaning every crack, crevice, and vaguely threatening language was strategic.
Wait, really? He designed the figure and the box as well? Nice.
Crafted by your...
Congratulations on acquiring a piece of my soul. We're not liable for any canon related. Oh, okay.
Truly, I didn't think they'd let me say
Serving whimsical lessons with a dash.
this. Those wonderful U2 servants really went all out with this one, and it's honestly the second coolest thing I've ever received after your mom's number. But it's only available for a limited time, so if you want to complete your Blue Jay U2's jar collection or send me even more videos of you torturing my merchandise, click the link in the description to snag yours before it's gone forever. And now, back to the video. Now, in my last installment, I talked about how the Persians defeated Egypt at Pelusium.
Yeah, I remember that.
A story with shaky reliability that others rightfully called me out on. That thumbnail was a joke, by the way. Since then, I've redoubled.
Let me guess. The stupid Twitter cancel cultures by the stupid people. Oh, that's racist. Let's cancel him because we have nothing better to do with our lives because we're losers, so we have to do this to other people. That's what today's generation who use Twitter and like to do cancel culture are like. Personally, sure, this may make me a target for cancel culture, but fortunately for me, I don't use X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it nowadays. So yeah.
My efforts into verifying the accuracy of stories and disclosing when their reliability can't be fully determined. Ancient history is always a blurry topic after all, and while this first story takes place around the same time as the Battle of Pelusium, the tale of cat warfare was first reported 700 years after the fact and only comes from a single source. Today's story has two. Ancient China, the spring and autumn period, also known as history's first battle royale, with something like 200 states vying for power, including the Qi. Or the fancy Chi, or the letter E. When they weren't competing for a name that sounded the most like a Pokemon with brain damage, they spent their time kickstarting many major philosophies, such as Confucianism to guide people on morality, or Taoism to guide hippies on their first tattoos. But above all, these Chinese states enjoyed their art, like war. The Art of War by Sun Tzu was potentially written during this period, a military text made famous for its...
Yeah, I remember reading this book, but it's been so many years. I barely remember a thing. I should really give this a reread.
Revolutionary tactical advice like give your soldiers food and think before you move. This priceless knowledge was studied by Helu, the king of Wu, who utilized it along with the legendary man himself to squad up and wage wars, cranking 90s on his neighbors, trying to clutch that dub. And the next stop on his way to a victory royale was his demure neighbor down south. I did it. But at what cost? Upon hearing of the death of its leader, Helu seized the opportunity to wage war on the state of Yue as it was transitioning to its new king, Goizhan. So with their crosshairs set, the state of Wu prepared for their invasion. Alright boys, before we go, let's just check our little manual here. Food. Make sure to bring food, guys. Genius. Of course. I love swallowing objects. And it looks like we need something called fire. Fire? What that? Oh, it like air, but when angry. Oh, yeah. You mean bad touch. Excellent. And we also need candy for every soldier. Wait, this ink is fresh. Who wrote this? Maybe it's a new update. While being invaded by the local superpower with a military influenced by one of the most legendary generals of all time was a less than ideal way to celebrate a new promotion, Goizhan was nonetheless determined to resist. But fighting such a renowned military required...
Yeah, when you know you can't win a long-term conventional war, you're gonna have to resort to unconventional warfare, such as guerrilla warfare, urban warfare, etc., etc.
It required some cunning. It required some wit. It required a cutthroat mentality. Wait, that's it! Taking my advice a bit too literally, in one battle, Goishan, quote, sent 3 waves of convicted criminals toward the Wu front lines, where, with a great shout, they proceeded to cut their own throats. Now, different sources claim that they were actually soldiers willing to die instead of criminals, but either way, the goal here, other than giving me content, was to leave the Wu forces stupefied and intimidated. However, I can see this plan easily backfiring.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, if it were criminals, I don't see how that would backfire. If it were their own soldiers, however, I could definitely see it backfiring. Because yeah, they could just pretend that the enemy could just pretend and fake it and force the guys to keep sending soldiers to commit suicide and whatnot. So yeah, I can see this backfiring way badly.
That's right. We're fucking crazy. You better surrender.
Holy shit, sir! I don't think I could fight them. This is insane. Hold on, Corporal. Just hold on. What's a corporal? Oh my god, that's insane!
That it is.
Could you imagine how scary it would be if they did that again?
That's right. We're demented. These.
Yeah, I would imagine that the enemy Chinese commander would also be saying something or doing something similar to this guy.
Squadron, show 'em.
Oh, the humanity! What eldritch horrors awaits if these demons were to descend upon us? I just might surrender if they did that yet again.
Right. Squadron C, show these men before the eyes of our gods what we're capable of.
Sweet heavens! My men are truly cowering in fear.
As they should.
Now, if they were to show us yet another time, but unfortunately for them, the art of war didn't cover what to do if the enemy soldiers fucking killed themselves. So when the UA forces launched a surprise attack from another direction, the stunned soldiers were promptly defeated. As with all—
Wait, what? It actually worked? I'm surprised that it actually led them to victory. Wow. I don't know how to feel about this. I am surprised, but I'm having this other emotion, and I don't know how to describe it. It's somewhere between the lines of weirded out and disappointed. I don't know how to feel.
all ancient history, a certain amount of faith is required when learning about its stories. However, I'm more inclined to believe this tale, as its sources are often considered some of the most trustworthy in ancient history, and the tale is recounted by sinology experts today. Cutting one's throat was a rather common way to commit suicide after all, and because death was viewed quite differently around this time, the soldiers may have believed their sacrifice—
Yeah, especially since it's a different culture.
—be rewarded in the afterlife. And if they had been criminals, some theorize their families may have been threatened to ensure their compliance. And you know, not like run over to the other side. I spent a lot of time tracking down, verifying, and independently translating various sources. Shout out to Kevin's dad. So if any YouTubers are looking to make some content, I hope they are satisfied with this disclosure. That was a joke, by the way. As for the defeated King Helu, he was mortally wounded in the Battle of the—
I'm definitely gonna have to look into this situation right here in terms of the racism accusations. I wonder who the accuser is. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to check out this drama.
Deep throat cuts, but lived long enough to tell his son and soon-to-be king to never forget about Yue. And so, holding his dying father's hand, his son made a vow. He was never gonna give Yue up, never gonna let Yue down.
I already have so much cheese. Eh.
Good day for a date. Bad day for a date.
Give me facial products facial product ads at least.
So you're up to 100% dandruff-free every day.
Come on.
Shoulders.
Jumping forward 100 years, we have the Persian Empire at the top of their game. They've been balling around the peasants of the Fertile Crescent and are now the largest empire by any assessment. With the recovery of Egypt, an economy full of riches, the future was looking bright for little old Persia's business. You know, so long as a Greek boy with a city naming habit doesn't come along. It's 334 BC, and the Persian Empire is being invaded by a man so legendary, so monumental, that his world-altering conquest and exploits would forever land him with the name Alexander the Great. That is, unless he subscribed to my theory. Yeah, I don't know, he's weirdly close with that cavalry commander. Probably not the only saddle he's riding. Call me crazy, but I just don't think Alexander is straight. What was that? Duh, I was just saying that Alexander is great. What's going on over here, babe? Alex? Ah, Hephaestion. Finished getting that city named after me? Which one? Alexandria, or Alexandria?
Yeah, not many people know that that there wasn't just one city of Alexandria. Around that time, during Alexander's campaign, there were actually many cities called Alexandria. However, of course, we all know the one city that decided to keep the name Alexandria.
Alexandria. Oh yes, paperwork's been submitted. Excellent. Oh hey, Alexander the Great. Make sure to write that one down. A few years in, and Alexander's been slapping around Darius pretty good. And after taking over modern-day Turkey, it was time to plan their next move. Alright, that was a great victory. Now for diplomacy, go further east. That's a fantastic idea. No, sir, should we not engage the Persians in negotiations so as to not overextend ourselves and risk hemorrhaging our forces against the largest empire known to man? My sweet Clythius. No. Alexander was...
Now, we all could have, just said, oh, well, that's stupid. Why not negotiate? Well, we all know. Well, if you've paid attention to history class, we all know that he did succeed. And even if we didn't know he was going to succeed, if you were in Alexander's position and you've made it this far, what would you choose? To keep going forward and see, sure, there's a chance you'll fail, but then again, there's also a chance you'll keep succeeding and succeeding, or do you stay content with what you have? Sure, the second option was more humble, and nonetheless would be a wiser decision, but of course, ambitious people like to take a gamble, and obviously if you want to succeed in life, you're going to have to make a few risky gambles like this. And hey, he succeeded in the end. He conquered Persia. Of course, his empire lost it after he died, so yeah.
Determined to push further east, conquering the whole of Persia. But first, he knew he had to secure his supply lines from the danger of the Persian navy, making him the second military mastermind in history to uncover the divine wisdom, soldier need food. And to achieve this security and control the Mediterranean, the city of Tyre needed to fall. There was just one small problem with that though. Alright, Tyre should be right around here. Oh. Looks like it's an island, sir. But what if it wasn't? What? Without a strong enough navy of his own, Alexander decided that peninsulas were in fashion and ordered his men to throw fuckloads of rocks in the water to build a land bridge all the way to the fortified island of Tyre. However, this would be no easy project. The island was supported by a navy, surrounded by lofty walls, and was a whole kilometer off the coast. But impregnable wasn't a word Alexander liked hearing. This will be a monumental task, not to mention the city is near impregnable. Hey, I have no problem impregnating. I'm the king of Macedonia after all. Right. So anyway, if we want this to work, we're gonna have to figure out how to get it up. Who told you that? That was one time, Clythius. Is Mary running that bitch mouth again? No, sir, I'm sorry. Please, don't be too hard on me. I have no problem getting hard. Call him Alexander the Flame. What was that? Duh, I said you're Alexander the Great. You have a magnificent cock, sir. Now, check it.
Yeah, despite Alexander's, homo-ness, he would actually go on to marry a captured Persian princess, and unfortunately, she would die from childbirth, so yeah.
Breaking enough rocks in the ocean to build a causeway wide enough to shove multiple siege towers out towards our great Lord Cthulhu is quite the exhausting task. But luckily for Alexander, there were plenty of local hands perfectly capable of carrying rocks nearby, and they were just too excited to help. All that's needed now is a bountiful supply of rocks. Well, these aren't being used. The Tyrians saw them toiling away, planting rocks and sticks in the water, and decided to help out by supplying some of their own. And while I'm sure the gesture was appreciated, their aid had the unfortunate side effect of spray painting the bridge red. Alexander, not vibing with this design direction, built a palisade to protect the workers, along with 2 siege towers at the end of the bridge. However, the Tyrians, much like George Bush, were determined to destroy the 2 towers, so they stuffed a few ships with incendiary materials and crashed them into the structures, burning them to the ground. But Alexander was rather skeptical of this. Triremes can't melt wooden.
I wonder how long this took. I'm sure Blue Jay is going to get into the details of how long this took and how many personnel worked on this and how many lives were lost trying to do this. So yeah.
Beams after all, so he decided to build yet another, even
Wait,
wider
what?
causeway from a second location on the mainland. And why shouldn't he? I mean, the volunteers were practically boiling with excitement after all. Surely he couldn't fail this time. We are talking about the mastermind that solved the Gordian knot. So this is the Gordian knot? It's impossible to untie. Oh, impossible, you say? Yeah, it has to be. It's holding a suspended load of concrete over an orphanage. So you're saying it'd take a true hero to untie it, huh? No, ideally it should not be messed with. Oh, sweet Jesus! Yeah, Aristotle was my teacher. But a bridge was...
Oh yeah, I forgot about that fact about Alexander. Aristotle was indeed his teacher, and when he conquered Persia, he although there was hatred from between the Greeks and the Persians, Alexander was quite accepting and respectful towards Persian culture, not to mention Egyptian culture and whatnot. And I think that's also because of his education under Aristotle. Aristotle, who introduced to him these cultures. So he, even back then, before he became the great, he had already a sort of knowledge and appreciation and respect for these cultures. So yeah, even though back then too, Greece, ancient Greeks had this kind, apartheid. I forgot to xenophobic, or a bit xenophobic towards non-Greek cultures.
Wasn't going to be enough on its own. Alexander needed ships, lots of them. And luckily for him, he had just captured a bunch of Phoenician cities with naval fleets just sitting around collecting dust when they could be collecting skulls. So he rounded them up and brought them to the island. The siege dragged on, the Macedonians slaving away with naval protection, while the Tyrians provided them some public theater with volunteers from the audience. Things would eventually come to an end when the Macedonians overwhelmed the Tyrians by attacking from both man-made land and sea. And finally, after the great Alexander gloriously conquered the city, cementing yet another story in his legacy that would sculpt the cultural transcending legend of a truly magnificent man, he was able to stand tall atop his prize and sell the women and children to slavery, crucifying 2,000 of the few surviving men. As they say, another epic victory for the OG.
Now we may all call this barbaric and whatnot, but remember, if you paid any attention to history, and if you had watched oversimplified Punic War, you'll know that this sort of thing was the standard for most of human history, even up to the 17 and early 1800s. So yeah, and most people nowadays, they think of slavery as being, a form of racism, whites and blacks and tans, and for the most part, maybe back in the 17th century, yeah, with the age of exploration and whatnot, yeah, that was mostly true. But if you had paid attention to history, you'll know that for most of human history, slavery was not built on racism. It was built purely for business and economics, because let's say you were a business owner back then, and you wanted to make as much profit as possible. However, paying paying workers means less profit to you, so what do? You buy slaves. And remember, you don't need to pay them nor care for them, and if they die, who cares? You can just buy more. So yeah, slavery was purely for business and economics. It was not built for racism. Africans had African slaves. India, China, Asia, the Americas, even before the age of exploration, the Americas had slavery, etc. Literally every culture you think of throughout history will be bound to have slavery. It's just as common as breathing and drinking water. Sorry about that.
Who says that? It'll catch on, you'll see. Well, you won't see. You'll be very dead. Only the citizens taking shelter in a temple were spared, including the king of Tyre himself. As for Alexander's 7-month rock stacking project, the remains of it are still visible, and centuries of sand accumulation have terraformed the island of Tyre into the peninsula of Tyre, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world that you can still visit to this day. Well, maybe hold off for now.
Yeah.
Cheese whiz.
I already have so much cheese. Give me facial product ads. I already have Globe. Come on.
G to G. Basta kasama mo ang Glow 5G and G Fiber.
We remember the Cold War as that funny half-century period where two halves of the world edged each other to see who would splooge plutonium first. But while today we know both sides ended up being true long-lasting kings, the Brits of the 1950s weren't so sure and needed to develop some contingency plans in case the hammer and sickle came a-knockin'. But how does one stop the LeBron of steamrolling through Eastern Europe from doing just that? Well, luckily, the puzzle of keeping big groups of people out of big chunks of area while also assisting with Hell's underpopulation problem had already been solved. Landmines. Only problem was, landmines were kind of lacking pizzazz. That was last decade's fashion after all, so how does one jazz up the...
Yeah, but they're still very deadly today. And a lot of people don't know that they think people are no longer dying of landmines, but not many people know that because of the amount of landmines that had been used and deployed in the Second World War, there are still so many unexploded landmines to this day, and sure, some are duds and no longer operational, but a good chunk of people still die from unexploded landmines every year. And there are actually protocols for when construction companies and whatnot encounter landmines. So yeah. All these landmines may be last century, but that doesn't mean they're obsolete or non-lethal.
This concept with the taste of the 1950s trends. Introducing Operation Blue Peacock, which was renamed from Blue Bunny, which was renamed from Brown Bunny, really doing everything they can to avoid a Warner Bros. Lawsuit. Blue Peacock was a project to develop a nuclear landmine with the goal of putting the first Soviet man into orbit. The plan was to bury a bunch of these in an area so uninhabitable and undesirable that nobody would mind it getting destroyed and irradiated. You know, somewhere like Germany.
Okay, sorry guys, I'm back.
With some atomic confetti, blanketing the area in enough radioactive...
Sorry, I think it was a bit early.
Area, while also assisting with Hell's underpopulation problem, as that was last decade's fashion after all. So how does one jazz up this concept with the taste of the 1950s trends? Introducing Operation Blue Peacock, which was renamed from Blue Bunny, which was renamed from Brown Bunny, really doing everything they can to avoid a Warner Bros. Lawsuit. Blue Peacock was a project to develop a nuclear landmine with the goal of putting the first Soviet man into orbit. The plan was to bury a bunch of these.
But wouldn't that also cause damage to you as well? Not to mention, if the enemy finds out about this, you're basically gonna be giving them free nukes when they start trying to look for these.
In an area so uninhabitable and undesirable that nobody would mind it getting destroyed and irradiated. You know, somewhere like Germany. This way, if the Soviets were to invade the Iron Curtain, their advance would be halted in their tracks with some atomic confetti, blanketing the area in enough radioactive fallout to prevent enemy occupation. This 10-kiloton nuke, weighing 7,300 kilograms, would be buried 35 feet deep and blast a crater 640 feet across to help.
Yeah, in today's day and age, that would be a relatively small nuke. Probably it'd be classified as a tactical nuke. Because there are two classes of nuclear weapons. There's strategic and there's tactical nukes. Strategics are larger and often come in the forms of ICBMs. However, in terms of conventional warfare, tactical nukes are going to be far more cost effective.
Visualize, that is a bomb weighing 780,302.73 gumballs with a 100 billion gumball yield, buried 420 gumballs deep and exploding a 7,680 gumball wide crater. With how big these puppies were, you weren't exactly able to litter a whole minefield with them, so they had to choose their locations very strategically. Alright Vlad, it was a good day one, but I'm thinking we set up supply depot before pushing on. This looks like a good spot, so let's...
Hey! A little more to the right!
Up!
Ang bagong Tang Fruit Plus.
Like I said, I don't like powdered drinks.
Of course, these landmines couldn't be pressure activated, not unless we wanted some kid playing hopscotch to step on a crack and break the sound barrier. So instead, they were designed to be detonated either by wire or by an 8-day timer. And to prevent anyone from being too nosy, it would also detonate if it was tampered with by any passing Russian soldier and/or curious child. There was just one problem with this plan. With the bomb being 35 feet deep in German soil, cold winter temperatures would prevent the electronics from working properly. So those lab boys back in the UK had to come up with an idea so ingenious, so brilliant, that they could keep their bomb internals safely warm for 8 whole days in the field until detonation. Congratulations on your new appointment, Dr. Pekka. Our team couldn't have selected anyone better. I'm just happy to be given the opportunity. After 8 long years of higher education, I'm excited to finally be able to pay off my loans and provide for my wife and eggs back home. The job market is tough for my kind, as you can imagine. Well, I can assure you we don't discriminate here at Fort Halstead. We only pick the best candidates for the job. I'm glad to hear that. So, where's my office? Oh, just right in here. The Brits' genius idea was to stuff a live chicken in a nuclear landmine to keep it warm with good old-fashioned body heat.
Now, I know you and I are gonna say that's so stupid. Why? But then again, how many ideas in history were sounded stupid and nonsensical to back then, only to be proven, hey, it works. So yeah, maybe that idea isn't as stupid as we all said and thought it was. So yeah. However, I may not be a nuclear scientist or a military strategist, but I can see some really bad consequences if this had been put in motion.
Planned to give it enough food to prevent it from pecking at wires and keeping it alive for at least 8 days before it was sent to the Shadow Realm. Truly a device only conceivable by the West, as pumping a KFC meal full of the entire electromagnetic spectrum is nothing more than the final evolution of ultra-processed meat. So with 2 prototypes built and 10 orders in the horizon, all that was left was to put their cock-filled plan into motion. Yeah, so we'll just kind of spread them out around here. Ben, will this be a problem? Only if you're invested in local real estate. No, they'll be quite dead. The Brits chickened out of the project once they remembered that nuclear fallout was famously unpredictable and could drift towards what I guess you could refer to.
Yeah, especially when it comes to nuclear aerial particles and whatnot. Depending on the winds, the wind could carry it all the way to you. So yeah.
As people. Blue Peacock was kept secret until it was declassified on April 1st, 2004, leading many to believe that shoving a Popeyes combo in a nuke had to be an April Fool's joke, to which the head of education at the National Archives responded, "The civil service does not do jokes." Well,
yeah, but you can't, but in the public's defense of thinking it was an April Fool's joke, they released it on April 1st, so yeah.
While trashing a project that spent 4 years in development sounds like a complete waste of time, they did find a way to salvage this at the end of the day. All that hard work designing and developing a wacky weapon prototype would end up fueling Britain's other favorite hobby, filling museum basements. Wacky War Tactics Part 3, Ape.
Yeah, for most people that sounds dangerous, but in reality, when weapons are put into museum storage, they're often the weapons are either fake replicas, or they're unarmed. So it may be in the basement, but I highly doubt any of the electronics or machinery is working to the point that if something goes wrong, it will go off. So yeah.
0.1452 out of 10 stars.
Okay, so yeah, I think the most shocking to me was definitely the one where Alexander turned the island of Tyre into a peninsula. I did not even know that story, actually. I didn't even know about that event. And I think the second most shocking was probably the nuclear landmine thing. And I'm so glad that they didn't go through with that plan. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, really. So yeah, if you like this video, please hit that like, subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.